The Young and the Restless spoilers a twisted agenda in Genoa. The battle for Neil's legacy. Amy and Damian's arrival in Genoa City was anything but a coincidence. While they portrayed their visit as a heartfelt reunion with family, whispers of ulterior motives lingered beneath their polished smiles. Their true intentions became evident as the layers of their plan unraveled. They weren't there to rekindle familial ties, they were there for the wealth left behind by the late Neil Winters. A shadowy past. Neil's death had cast a long shadow over Genoa City. His tragic and untimely demise left unanswered questions, lingering suspicions, and most importantly, a vast estate without a will. Neil had always been a pillar of strength and integrity in the community, but even the most steadfast legacies can become battlegrounds when wealth and power come into play. With no clear will, the laws of inheritance dictated that Neil's estate would be divided equally among his heirs. Yet, the reality was far more complex. Devon Hamilton, Neil's adopted son, had been the one to take control of the family assets. To him, safeguarding Neil's legacy wasn't just a duty, it was a sacred trust. Nate Hastings, Neil's biological nephew, showed little interest in the inheritance, leaving Devon as the de facto guardian of the estate. But Damian, Nate's younger half-brother, saw an opportunity. Encouraged, if not manipulated, by his companion Amy, Damian arrived in Genoa City not to pay respects to his brother's family but to claim his perceived rightful share of Neil's fortune. The players revealed Damian's connection to the Winters family added complexity to an already tangled web. As Nate's younger sibling, Damian shared familial ties with Devon, making their dispute both personal and legal. Amy, ambitious and shrewd, was the architect of their plan. She saw Damian's lineage as a key to unlocking the wealth that Neil left behind. "Damian, this isn't just about the money," Amy whispered one evening, her tone both firm and persuasive. "It's about taking what's rightfully yours. Neil wouldn't have wanted one person to control everything. You're his family too, and it's time to remind Devon of that." Damian, torn between his conscience and Amy's relentless ambition, reluctantly agreed. They approached Devon with their demand, a 50-50th split of the estate. The guardian of the estate for Devon, this was an affront he couldn't tolerate. He had spent years building upon Neil's legacy, using the estate to honor his father's memory and values. To him, Damian and Amy's sudden interest wasn't about family, it was greed cloaked in sentimentality. "You don't get to waltz in here and lay claim to something you had no part in building," Devon said coldly, his voice laced with restrained fury during their first confrontation. "Neil's legacy isn't for sale, and I won't let anyone desecrate what he stood for." Devon's determination was fueled by more than just a sense of responsibility. He felt a deep personal connection to Neil's values, which he saw reflected in every decision he made about the estate. Nate's disinterest in the inheritance had only strengthened Devon's resolve to act as its sole guardian. The idea of sharing it with someone who had just appeared from the shadows was unthinkable. "The stakes get higher." Amy, ever the strategist, refused to back down. She knew that Damian's legal claim, no matter how tenuous, could force Devon into a corner. If Damian pushed hard enough, he could bring the matter to court, and without a will, the law was on their side. "Damian, you have to fight for this," Amy insisted. "Neil's estate is legally yours as much as Devon's. Don't let him bully you into walking away." But Amy underestimated Devon's resilience and the strength of his connections in Genoa City. Devon wasn't just fighting for an inheritance, he was protecting a legacy. His network of allies, including his longtime confidants and even some members of the Winters family, rallied behind him. Meanwhile, Damian found himself questioning his role in Amy's scheme. While he felt entitled to a portion of Neil's wealth, the thought of tearing apart the family left him uneasy. The tension between his loyalty to Amy and his familial ties grew with each passing day. The battle lines are drawn. The conflict escalated as Devon began investigating Amy and Damian's past. He uncovered hints that their visit to Genoa City had been meticulously planned long before Neil's death, raising questions about their motives. "What else are you hiding, Damian?" Devon challenged him during a heated argument. "You didn't come here for family, you came here for a payout." For Damian, the words stung more than he expected. He realized that Devon's accusations weren't entirely unfounded. But Amy wasn't ready to give up. She urged Damian to push harder, to stand his ground, and to claim what she believed was his due. A family torn apart as the feud intensified, the Winters family found themselves divided. Nate, usually a voice of reason, remained distant, unwilling to take sides. Others in the family began to question whether Devon's unyielding stance was truly about honoring Neil or simply about holding on to power. The battle over Neil's estate was no longer just a legal issue, it became a test of loyalty, integrity, and family ties. Amy and Damian's presence in Genoa City acted as a catalyst, forcing everyone involved to confront their own values and priorities. The question of legacy. As the dust settled on the initial skirmishes, one question loomed over them all: what would Neil have wanted? His death had left a void in the family, and his absence was felt more acutely as the dispute over his legacy deepened. Would Devon's unwavering commitment to protecting the estate ultimately honor Neil's memory, or would his refusal to share alienate him from the very family Neil sought to unite? Would Damian find the courage to step away from Amy's manipulations, or would he press on, risking the bonds that tied him to his brother? And in the end, could a family torn apart by greed and ambition ever find a way to heal? This detailed narrative sets the stage for further exploration of the characters, their motives, and the dramatic consequences of their actions. If you'd like me to expand on specific aspects or develop additional storylines, let me know. The Winters family war, Damian's path of destruction. Damian's arrival in Genoa City was a ticking time bomb, and everyone in the Winters family felt the tremors. From the moment he stepped foot into their lives, it was clear he wasn't there for reconciliation. Damian wasn't just a troublemaker, he was a master manipulator, a man whose charm masked a dangerous ambition. Paired with Amy, his cunning and equally unscrupulous partner, Damian seemed destined to wreak havoc on the family his late brother Neil had worked so hard to keep together. Devon's intuition, a guardian on high alert. Devon had seen through Damian and Amy from the start. His sharp instincts told him that Damian's sob story and sudden interest in the family weren't born of love or loss but of greed. Amy's background as a former housekeeper in Nate's household was the final nail in the coffin of Devon's suspicions. She wasn't satisfied cleaning floors for the Winters family, Devon muttered to himself during one of his private moments of frustration. Now she wants to walk through the front door as if she belongs here? Devon's contempt for Damian and Amy only grew as their demands became louder. Amy's influence on Damian was undeniable, and Devon couldn't shake the feeling that she was the mastermind behind every calculated move. To Devon, protecting Neil's legacy wasn't just about wealth, it was about ensuring that the wrong people didn't taint what his father had built. Damian's power play. Damian, emboldened by Amy's relentless encouragement, wasn't content with being dismissed. He pushed back harder against Devon's refusal to share the estate. Public confrontations became commonplace, with Damian accusing Devon of selfishness and exploitation. "You act like Neil only loved you," Damian spat during one particularly heated exchange. "I'm his blood too. You can't keep everything for yourself." "Don't talk to me about family," Devon fired back, his voice cold as steel. "You've never cared about anything except what you can take. Neil saw through people like you, and so do I." Nate's dilemma. Caught in the crossfire was Nate, the elder brother who had always tried to keep the peace. Nate had little interest in Neil's fortune, choosing instead to focus on his own career and the family he was building with his wife. But Damian's sudden arrival and escalating conflict forced Nate into a position he couldn't avoid. Nate initially tried to remain neutral, urging both sides to find common ground. However, Amy saw an opportunity in his hesitation. With her characteristic charm and calculated manipulation, she began planting seeds of doubt in Nate's mind. "Damian isn't asking for much, Nate," Amy said during a private conversation. Her tone was soft, almost pleading. "He just wants what's fair. Isn't that what Neil would have wanted? How can you stand by while your brother is cast out like this?" Nate was torn. On one hand, he saw the logic in Amy's argument. After all, Damian was his brother by blood. On the other hand, he couldn't ignore Devon's warnings about Amy's true motives. The more Nate tried to mediate, the more he felt trapped between his loyalty to his family and his desire to avoid conflict. Amy's influence, a new threat as tensions grew, Amy's grip on Damian, and her ability to manipulate those around her, became even more apparent. She wasn't just interested in Damian's share of the inheritance, she had her sights set on the Winters family itself. Becoming part of such a powerful legacy was her ultimate goal, and she was willing to use anyone, including Nate, to achieve it. Amy's tactics became bolder. She began subtly undermining Devon's credibility, spreading rumors about his selfish control of the estate and his alleged disregard for the rest of the family. Her whispers reached members of the Winters family, sowing discord and doubt. "Why does Devon get to decide everything?" she would ask innocently at family gatherings. "Shouldn't Neil's legacy belong to all of you?" The battle lines are drawn. The feud between Damian and Devon escalated into a full-blown war. Damian, emboldened by Amy and frustrated by Devon's resistance, threatened legal action to claim his share of the estate. Devon, ever the strategist, responded by gathering evidence of Amy's manipulative past, determined to expose her true motives. Their clashes weren't just legal, they were personal, with each man trying to outmaneuver the other. Damian sought to portray Devon as a tyrant, hoarding wealth that rightfully belonged to the family. Devon, in turn, painted Damian as an opportunist with no regard for Neil's values. Nate's choice, family or integrity? The biggest question hung over Nate: whose side would he take? As Damian's brother and Devon's cousin, Nate was uniquely positioned to influence the outcome of the conflict. But Amy's growing sway over Nate complicated matters. She played on his love for family and his sense of fairness, urging him to support Damian's claim. "Think about your own family, Nate," Amy said during one of their private talks. "Do you really want to see your brother cast out with nothing? Isn't it better to stand together as a family, even if Devon doesn't see it that way?" Nate's wife, however, was less convinced. She saw through Amy's facade and warned Nate about getting too close. "She's using you, Nate," she cautioned. "Don't let her tear this family apart." Nate faced an impossible choice: protect his brother Damian and risk alienating Devon, or side with Devon and potentially betray his own flesh and blood. His decision would shape the future of the Winters family. The fallout as the battle for Neil's legacy intensified, the Winters family stood on the brink of collapse. Amy and Damian's scheming threatened to destroy the bonds that Neil had worked so hard to build, while Devon's relentless defense of the estate risked isolating him from the rest of the family. Would Nate succumb to Amy's manipulation, or would he see her for who she truly was? Would Damian's greed ultimately alienate him from the family he claimed to care about? And would Devon's determination to protect Neil's legacy come at the cost of losing the very family he sought to honor? One thing was clear: the Winters family would never be the same.